Greetings, Cleveland, and welcome to Creative Focus, the show that illuminates some of Cleveland's most talented and creative artists across the genres of dance, film, music, theater, and visual arts. I'm your host, Cornell Calhoun III, and I'm thrilled to have as my guest today on Creative Focus, author and the creator of the HBCU Social App, Miss Kimberly Kisner. Kimberly, welcome to Creative Focus.
Thank you.
Let's chop it up.
Let's do it.
So you are a Cleveland native.
Yes.
Graduate of Beaumont High School.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about your upbringing in Cleveland. Beaumont, the Blue Streaks,
The
right?
Blue Streaks, that's right. Wow, I almost forgot about that.
Yeah, I think 3301 North Park Boulevard,
Wow,
Cleveland Heights, Ohio.
I don't even remember the address.
We used to play Beaumont.
Okay,
so
that's right.
right.
Yeah, so Beaumont School for Girls. Let's be clear, Beaumont School for Girls. My upbringing in Cleveland was great. I think Cleveland is a great place for families and children, and so I had an awesome time. Beaumont School was great. I met a lot of my lifetime friends there. A very diverse culture there, and it was just a lot of fun. It was all girls, so you're a little bit just confined, but of course all the boys came to Beaumont to check us out, so you didn't lack any type of dates or anything like that. But it was a great childhood.
And what area did you grow up in Cleveland?
Yeah, I grew up in Shaker at first. We lived on Winslow, we lived on Chadbourne, and then we moved into Cleveland. We lived on Wade Park.
I know that after Beaumont, then you attended Clark Atlanta. And,
Yes.
it's funny because when I was back in school, Clark and Atlanta, they were separate.
Yes.
Atlanta University, Clark University, because we used to play them whenever we would go down to Atlanta. We would play Clark, Atlanta, Morehouse, and Morris Brown.
Right.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, they merged in like 1988.
Right, so you had
there.
Clark College, you had Atlanta University, and you're absolutely correct, they merged in 1988 to become Clark Atlanta University.
So, this question I have to ask you.
Okay.
Why did you select HBCU? Because for me, it was just basketball. I didn't really even know that much about black colleges.
Okay.
So, but later on, why did you select the HBCU?
Oh my gosh, first School Days, the movie School Days.
Okay. Right.
Which my mom would not let me watch, but my sister, she went to Hampton University, so I went to visit her in one weekend, and so I was like, can we rent School Days? So I watched School Days, and that really sparked my interest in attending an HBCU school. But more importantly, then Different World happened, and so saw Different World. So I was like, I have got to go to an HBCU school. For me, it was, I wanted to be in a place where people looked like me and had teachers that looked like me, because my entire life I've been to predominantly white schools, which, don't get me wrong, was a great education. And I'm glad that I had that experience because it made me more well-rounded, but I wanted to be with my people. And I thought, what better way to do that than go to a HBCU school?
So what did you discover about Kimberly Kisner at Clark University?
Oh my goodness. So I would have to say, when I first went to Clark, I heard about Atlanta and all the beautiful women. And so I was a little bit shy in terms of also being a late bloomer. And so I didn't focus on the looks and all of that, but there were beautiful women anywhere you go. I mean, there's beautiful women. And so I focused on my personality. I focused on just being Kim and just developing who I was and not really be concerned too much about the look. So I would go to school in hoodies and, whatever. Probably around my junior year, that's when I started blossoming and kind of growing into my looks per se. But still, because I was well-grounded, that still never bothered me. I still focused on my personality. But I think being at Clark, it allowed me to be who I was and allowed me to grow up and become who Kim is. Another thing is I learned about being resilient and learning how to navigate, because, going to an HBCU school does have its challenges, the financial aid lines, dealing with your professors, your grades and things of that nature, but it taught me how to navigate life. But I learned all of those skill sets from going to the different schools that I went to, and of course my parents. And so that instilled in me how to navigate those financial aid lines, or how to have conversations with people, or what to do and how to build connections. And so I learned that I was very resilient being at Clark Atlanta.
Did you work at all when you were in college?
Yes, boy did I. Because again, I also had that go-getter personality as well. And so I worked in I had a administrative job. I also worked at Blockbuster Studios. I also worked at the Warner Brothers studio store at the Underground. So I had like 2 and 3 jobs while also attending school. I had an apartment, but I worked really hard because I believed in having my own money. And I just wanted to make sure that I was able to afford whatever I needed to afford and help out my parents as best as I could.
And you know, while we're talking about employment, let's talk about your book, Laid Off but Not Laid
Okay.
Out. I read it. It's really a fascinating book. I think I was only laid off like twice.
Wow.
That I can remember, but I know you were laid off 5 times.
Oh my gosh! And most recently, just got laid off.
And which I really found interesting, you got laid off twice in 6. Talk about that.
Wow. So when I first wrote the book, because I think the book you may have maybe the anniversary edition.
Okay.
But the first book I wrote, I had been laid off 5 times. And I thought it was kind of funny that I kept getting laid off. And so I was like, I should write a book about this. And quite honestly, I'm a believer of faith in God. And God said, you should write this book. And I'm like, you want me to write a book? I don't know anything about writing a book. And I pitched the idea to both my parents, and they were like, I think that's a great idea. And so I decided to write a book about being laid off and all the different emotions that goes with that, which is very similar to the grieving emotions that you go through. So I did that. And then 10 years later, I did an anniversary edition because I figured people want to know, well, what's she been doing the last 10 years? What's happened since then? Wow. Okay. So I did an anniversary edition of the book to kind of tell people where I am now and what has transpired. Ironically, I just got laid off about a month ago. But it was funny because I was not afraid of it. I'm okay with it because I wrote a book about it. I know how to handle it. And the book to me just will never get old because there are lessons in there that even if you have been laid off or haven't been laid off, you quit your job or if you got fired from your job, there's a lot of tools and resources in there to help you navigate that.
So give us some lessons that a person should have when they face the layoff.
So here's the thing. I think that you should always be looking, even when you have a job, because no job is stable, period. And so you may not aggressively look, but you should always look. There's nothing wrong with that. And if you happen to get an interview, take the interview because that's just a practice for you. So always be looking. The other lesson I would say is if you hear rumblings, if ever there's a merger or an acquisition or, we're going to do a whole new operating model or we're going to do a growth strategy, a lot of times that means there's going to be some type of layoffs. And so if you start hearing that, believe it and really start to really beef up your resume and start looking. The last thing I would say is just prepare yourself. What I mean by that is go ahead and once you get laid off, go ahead and reach out to the unemployment office, do everything in advance that you need to do. Even if you get severance and you get some people get about 4 months severance or whatever, still look, don't wait till your severance runs out and then start looking for a job. Right, you can relax a little bit, take some time off, but still you need to start looking. So and don't panic. Do not panic because when one door closes, another one opens and you will get something else.
And talk about, I know in the book you talked a lot about God and the faith and how that got you through. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I, grew up in the church. My faith has grown tremendously over the years. But I think when I trust God or when you trust God and just know that he's got you. But the thing is, it's not enough to just pray. Obviously pray is going to work out, but you have to pray and do something. And so what that means is God's watching you to see, okay, you're laid off. I understand it. Take a break, feel it, lean into it. But then now what? So that means be engaged, be optimistic and persistent, like I said, look for jobs, network, do whatever you need to do, because ultimately he does have you, but he wants to see what you're going to do with that. And I think that for me, when I relied on God, and there's a reason, there's a lesson, he has a plan for your life. So kind of lean into that because you don't know what he has for you. And so instead of being upset about it, yeah, you're human. Like I said, lean into that, but then get over it, give yourself 24 hours or so, and then get right back on the horse.
Let's talk about the HBCU app. Because
Sure.
That's why you're here. I saw a an article about the app, and I said, you know, she's from Cleveland. I have to get her on the show. What is the HBCU app?
So the HBC Social mobile app is a digital platform. So if you think about LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, if they all had a baby, that would be HBC Social mobile app. The difference is that it's for us. It's for the HBCU community, whether you're an alumni, whether you're undergrad, part of the Divine Nine. If you're just an HBCU supporter, it is for us. And right now, there's really nothing out there like it because it's specific to our community. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to leave all the other social media sites. Do that in addition to. You have the ability to filter options based on whatever it is that you're looking for, based on school, subject, if you're looking for dating, if you're looking for networking opportunities, there's job listings, there's events. It's a very, very well-rounded app that is really important, and I think that's needed for the HBCU community.
And what was the inspiration for the app?
Oh my goodness. I was on the phone with one of my best friends about 3 years ago from college, and her daughter attends Kentucky State. And at the time, her daughter was complaining about the lack of dating options. So we were laughing because we went to the AUC Center. So like you mentioned earlier, you had Morehouse, you had Morris Brown, you had Clark Atlanta. So we didn't lack dating options. Right. And so we kind of thought about it, and I was like, man, wouldn't it be awesome if there was an app that could connect all the HBCU students from around the world and, you know, for dating at the time, just thinking about dating, but then taking it a step further for if you're working on a paper or if you need a place to stay, what else could we do? And then it was like, well, what about an app where a lot of times these corporations say they can't find the talent? But there's an app now where you can find the talent, where you can connect to us through the app, also a place for job listings and events. And so I was like, yeah, let's do it. But then I looked into how do I do this app? I have no money. So it can cost anywhere from 30 to 50 grand, you know, $50,000. And so I didn't have any money. So I said, forget it. I'm not doing it. And again, God said, you've been wanting to, because I have an entrepreneurial spirit, you've been wanting to do something for a very long time that really adds value, that really can essentially make money in your sleep. This is your opportunity, Kim. And so I had a friend that had a connection with the app company, and I did my research. I pitched the idea to the app company. They loved it. And they said, we like it because it's not just a dating app. And so they decided to work with me, and that's how it became HBC Social.
And what were some of the challenges in getting the app off the ground beyond obviously the financial aspect of it?
Yeah, that really is the biggest one. Is the money. Basically, I essentially funded it mostly by myself. I did have one person that did contribute finally, thank God for him, because he's the one that really got me over to getting it designed. But for the most part, it's been really me just, you know, putting the money in myself. But the other thing is getting people to get on the app, which is you find it difficult for people to adapt. And so people are slow to adapt. Unfortunately, in our community, we are slow to adapt. And so that's also been a challenge. And at first it bothered me, like, you know, you have friends who are like, oh, this is amazing, I'm so proud of you, but you're not in the app, you know? And it used to bother me. And then I'm like, okay, for every person that says, oh, I support you, I want to be in the app, they're not in the app, somebody else that you don't know is going to be in the app. So you have to be patient and know that it doesn't happen overnight. If you think about some of the other social media sites, they did not happen overnight. And so you have to just give yourself grace and just keep building upon the app with functionality, keep staying in line with what is going on in the market, keep marketing. And then, you know, you just have to let it happen. It's going to happen. Like I said, God gave it to you, so it's not going to fail.
So let's just take a typical person, HBCU student who's interested in getting on the app. What's the first thing they do?
So the first thing, you want to download the app either from if you have an iPhone or if you have Android, it's for both. You want to create your profile. So you create your profile, put some pictures on there, put in your hobbies. You can put in there, obviously, what school you went to, what year you went, what year you're in. And then you just say, filter it out. You can filter it or not. So if you decide to filter, like, this is what I'm looking for, you want to say, hey, I'm looking for networking, professional engagement, dating, or whatever, you can put that in there. and load up some pictures, you can also post. So now the app allows you to post. So that was a really cool feature that we wanted to add because people like to tell their business.
Right.
So I had to make sure we added a feature for people to tell their business, also post videos. So you can post 30-second videos, you can post whatever's going on. And that's all you have to do, and just stay engaged. There you get notifications, you get emails. And so just stay engaged. Just use it like you use Facebook.
So is there a cost to the app?
So the app is free for 30 days because I want people to try it out, navigate through it. And then it's $1.99 a month that you don't even miss. That's less than a Starbucks cup of coffee.
So do you know how many people you have on the app right now?
Yeah, we have about 400, which actually is good. When I talk to my app developers, I'm like, it's only like 400 people. They're like, Kim, that is really good, considering when you started the app last year. But again, people take a minute to get on the app. Of course, with any technology, you're going to have some just little things that happen, some little quirks that happen, technical difficulties. But really, that's pretty good, So we're trying to get it to 1,000 by the end of the year. That would be really great. But like I said, sometimes it's difficult because people just want to make sure that they're doing it for the right reason, or why am I doing this? Why should I get on your app? What's the benefit for me? Right.
Well, we'll make it 401 because I'll get on that.
That'll be great. That'll be great.
So in creating the app, did you collaborate with any HBCU students, faculty, alumni? How did you get any input?
The first collaboration, like I said, was with my best friend, and that really was just the idea that came from that conversation. And then I just did my research. I looked at some of the other apps. I even looked at some of the dating apps. So if you've ever been on a dating app, you swipe. This one, you don't swipe. You kind of scroll up. And then, I just kind of looked at, well, how are these designed? I didn't want it to be like Facebook or Instagram. So just what did I want it to look like? Then I had a couple of people that I would pitch it to when we first came out with the prototype. I sent it to them to let them, look at it. But really, not a whole lot of people were involved in what I wanted because I felt like this is what I wanted. So, But going forward, just getting different ideas, like eventually want to add a marketplace because one of my friends came up with the idea of, man, there should be a place where alums can advertise their businesses, and Kim, you have the platform to do it. And I was like, that's an awesome idea. Let's call it the marketplace. So that's not something I came up with. Another idea I realized, I said I wanted to do something called Safe Space, which would be for all of the undergrads, would be a safe space for information about health and wellness, suicide, information, things of that nature. So I wanted to do something. So I'm constantly coming up with different ideas so that we can keep it viable and make it still different than everybody else.
So what kind of feedback have you been getting back?
Oh, and so what's so funny is I had a vending event at Clark Atlanta a few weeks back, and I guess I was so excited. I was trying to record her comments, but I accidentally took a picture instead of recording it. She was like, this app is better than LinkedIn. And so I took that as a compliment. It's not quite like LinkedIn, but I was like, wow, the fact that you even said it's better than LinkedIn because there's jobs on there. So you can actually look for jobs on the app. Okay. And so I thought that was really great. A lot of other people are just saying, this is amazing. They think it's something that's needed and that the possibilities of this app is endless. I think eventually we want to take it to a place where we're able to give back. I want to do, and I don't want to call it a scholarship fund, I want to call it a Thrive Fund, meaning so giving students money for them to thrive, meaning they can put it towards their bills, they can put it towards food, whatever they need. It's not just for books, but just helping them thrive. So I want to be able to do that. I want to be able to really give back to the HBCU community. And so that's eventually where we're trying to go.
Did you have any tech challenges at all?
Oh my God. So this is why I hired a tech company, an app development company. A lot of times people were like, well, you could have just made this by yourself. Yes, there are ways that you can develop an app on your own, but I don't know coding. The other thing is, if something breaks down, what am I going to do? The other thing is, I do not know how to talk to Apple or to Google. My app got rejected 3 times from Apple. So people don't know that when you build an app, you have to get it approved through Apple, and then it goes to Google. And so it got rejected 3 times. I don't know the language. I don't know how to talk to them. And so we did have technical difficulties, but not bad difficulties. It's just, it's what happens when you're developing technology. And so you're gonna have, but I'm also a troubleshoot, so I'm on my app all the time. If I see something like, hey, such and such is not working, what is going on? So I'm very on it and what's happening with the app. But that's just with any type of technology that you have.
How do you keep the app relevant as to what's going on?
Yeah.
And how often do you change it or edit it or
Yeah. So I am the admin. So it's just me. And so I'll do things like I will post. So because you can post, I will post as the administrator. I'll post it, like I posted about voting. I posted about homecoming. Also on my social media sites, I have a creative director. And so my creative director posts information on the different sites. I'm also building partnerships. I have a couple partnerships with individuals. So they'll post different things. So for example, I have a friend who has a cologne called Ovation for Men. And we had a really candid conversation about us supporting each other. And so he did a little commercial for me about HBC Social, and I also did a commercial for him about Ovation, and we both got a lot of different hits. So just doing that, and I think that just stays relevant and just making sure I keep up with the times and what's going on.
What role do you see the app in uplifting Black voices?
Well, I think this is a safe space for us. And so we can say whatever we want to say on this app. We don't have to worry about outsiders looking in and not really because you know this, the HBCU community is our own little community. It's a family. It's very different. It's like a family reunion, but it's just a very different world, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like that this is the opportunity, like I talk about voting. We can talk about issues, and eventually we are going to have another feature in there where you're going to have different forums on there as well. But again, those things, all the things I'm talking about, they cost money. But those are things I want to add, like being able to have panel discussions, forums. But this is a place where they can feel safe and say whatever it is they want to say and not have to be censored or worry about somebody else looking at it.
What's your long-term vision for the app?
Oh man,
What would you love to see?
I would love the app to be the app to go to. So just like people go to Facebook and Instagram, it's not like just drinking water. I want people to go to HBC Social like drinking water. And I want it to be the go-to app for us. And that's really where I want it to be, where I'm really literally just not even worried about it. And I want to be able to have a team. So it's not just me running the app, but eventually I would like to have a team, and I eventually just want to do that. I just want to just do HBC Social, meaning, speaking out about it, having different forums, going to different campuses, also giving back to the community. I really just want that to be my sole focus.
Do you have a plan for like reaching all or the majority of the HBCUs to tell them about the app?
Yeah, so we're working on that. We do have a plan in place, but again, it's kind of been a little bit challenging because it is just me and I can't be everywhere. So we are working on, that's why I'm trying to build partnerships and figure out how we can get in those doors, trying to get to everybody's, and probably starting out with the different alumni organizations first, and try to build a team from there. I want to do ambassadors, so alumni ambassadors as well as undergraduate ambassadors. But these things take time, and I think that for me, it was really important to keep building out the app to get it to a really good place. And it's at a good place right now. Before it wasn't at the best place in terms of I wanted to have more things like posting and chatting. And so now I have all of those things. And so now we're in a much better place to kind of go out more. This year is the first year I had a tent at homecoming. So that was a really big deal because last year I was at homecoming and my friends and I were just looking at all the tents like, man, that's going to be me next year. I'm going to have a tent. I'm going to have merchandise. I'm going to have all of this. And I did. And so to me, that was a big win because I said I was going to have it and I did.
So how can people, again, get in touch with you or get on the app, and we'll put it on the screen?
Okay.
Then you have a website, of course.
Yes.
Okay, so what's the website?
So the website is hbcusocial.net. And that just gives you more information about the app, as well as you can download it from there as well. Of course, you can download it through the Apple Store as well as the Google Play Store. And my social media links are for Instagram. It's The Real HBCU Social.
Okay. Give me that website one more time.
hbcusocial.net. And then my Instagram is The Real HBCU Social.
Okay. I'm looking forward to see. I'm going to see what I can find. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I want to thank my special guest, Kimberly Kisner, for hanging out with us today on Creative Focus. So that's it, Cleveland. We're out. But remember, a true artist is not only inspired, but inspires others. I'm Cornell Calhoun III for TV 20 and Creative Focus. Until the next time becomes our time, be well, be safe.